Good evening, music multiverse travelers, listeners. We've got Alex in a car. We've got me in Delaware, and Jeff's ashamed he just turned off his video.
Okay.
Good evening again, and we're going to do What's in Your Ear tonight, live from Delaware. But before we move into what's in our panelists' ears, I just want to make sure that everybody realizes we'd love for you to subscribe, but not only that, if you're watching, please, some comments. We'd love to know what you're listening to, what you think of some of these shows, maybe your lists and what's tickling your ear. So anyway, I'll start by saying it's impossible to listen to everything because I try. Even on a 7-hour ride to Delaware, boy, did I burn those lovely earbuds that were given to me by Chef Jeff. They're miracles. They're miracle. I don't know what I did without them. So each show is completely unique, and we're hoping that in doing this that you'll enjoy maybe something you've never heard before, or maybe it actually reminds you of something from the past. And I'm going to tell you right now, tonight's show is going to have a few of those that you're going to be wowed by the past. And if you haven't been, I'm going to be living proof of it. All right. So just so you know, we're not playing any music because they demonetize stuff and we don't want to get into that whole deal. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. So Chef, Chef Jeff, why don't you start us off with your first pick?
Okay. So we're going to go. I thought when I looked this up originally, I thought it was done in 2023, but it comes to after much research between me and Mark, we found it's actually 1974, but was remastered in November last year. Yeah. So I am talking about somebody who I have seen in concert many moons ago, has never really been my favorite artist, but I will tell you right now, this album, I've listened to it. Mark just listened to it. It is very good, to say the least.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about Frank Zappa, and the album is Apostrophe. It is the funniest album in a long freaking time. It's not the Frank Zappa I'm used to. It's does have his licks, but the comical writing on this, it reminds me a lot of Dr. D. I mean, a whole bunch. The writing very much the same in a lot of directions, but the music's much better. It really is. You got his licks. You got a great orchestra. There's a guy from the old Cream. There's a couple guys from Jeff Beck. There's Jean-Luc Ponty on violin. So he really had a tremendous crew of people behind him. I really liked the album. They had they started off with Don't Eat Yellow Snow and Cosmic 3. But my favorite, the last song on the album is Stinkfoot. It is absolutely hilarious, just hilarious.
Yeah.
It's nice because it's only 32 minutes, so it's an easy listen. The songs are funny. I believe the lyrics are stronger than the melody, but we'll have to. I think there's people will change on that one, but it's a great album. I think anybody, whether they like Zappa or not, they should listen to this one at least. I've listened to a couple of those albums after I listened to this for the first time, and they just don't do this one justice. They really don't.
When they say that Frank Zappa is an acquired taste, this was my first taste of Frank Zappa. I have known of Frank Zappa. I have heard horror stories of trying to listen to certain records. The man is probably the most well-known avant-garde rock, jazz, progressive person on the planet. And when I listen to this record,
Going home now?
I will tell you right now that he is the Dr. Seuss of music on this record. The rhyming schemes are up there with Eminem. The way it's delivered is so unexpected. The drops, the holding, the jazz, the fusion, the rock, the stop gaps, and the way it's delivered is cataclysmic, to be honest with you. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, you've got all kinds of different genres being blended, and then there's a female vocalist in the background, but is she a vocalist or is she just shouting stuff? It's so cool. A great listen, and it's tolerable because it's 30 some minutes. If this would have been an hour of this, it might have gotten a little stupid, but I would recommend it to anybody to start Zappa so that you get a taste of like probably everything there is in his toolbox that's good.
If I was going to rate this, like in a ratings like that we do on something, I would rate this a 22. It was really, really, really good. I was amazed. I really was.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Alex, your first one.
The Man of Darkness.
Yes.
We have to talk about the
There he goes.
yellow snow in there. So
Yeah, there's no yellow snow in yours.
I think we're losing him.
Are we losing you?
Technical difficulty.
We'll go back to Alex.
It's like a sing-along. Hey.
I gotta see. There's gonna be a little editing to do here.
Talk about editing and bad idea genes. Yeah, Alex, stop.
He's playing the piano.
Yeah, I think he's playing the horn. I don't know. We'll go to Jeff Young. We'll come back to Alex once he enters some area that has cell coverage.
Well, I was actually going to lead off with.
Hang on, Alex. Hang on. Jeff, go ahead.
Skip over. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll skip you.
He can't hear you.
Yeah, I can.
A lot of editing now.
Well, it's too bad Alex can't talk right now because he could probably lend more information to this than I can. But I started listening again to Cosmic Egg from Wolfmother.
Okay.
And I started listening because I was thinking, maybe I'll give this to Chef Jeff for an album challenge. But I thought, let me listen to it first just in case it's not the right one, And it's their second album from 2009. And the title of the album comes from a position in yoga, apparently. But, really, really good musically, like a lot going on, very, very rock, but almost a little bit nostalgic, more like kind of 70s-ish, late 70s rock in a sense, but also has some of the newer styles too. Even the vocals, very similar to like your Led Zeppelins of the world, but not a copycat. It's really good, straight ahead rock. A lot of parts of each song where they just break off and just play. It's a really good album, but I don't know that it's an album that I would just listen to front to back. Like I listened to like maybe 2, 3, 4 songs and I'm like, oh yeah, that satisfies me, but then I'll go back, but I won't listen to the same songs, but Wolfmother's definitely, I think a really good band. I just don't listen to them as much as probably, I probably could, but when you like a million bands, there's only so much time in a day.
I hear you. And sometimes with that record, I think it's a little long.
Yeah, like the reason I didn't give it to Jeff was I was thinking, man, it is just a bit much. Like not knowing exactly what Jeff's style is either way. But it's anyways. I think anyone who likes music can appreciate it. I don't know if it's going to be everyone's favorite, but it rocks for sure.
Of all the records, that's the one that's worth the first listen, I think, to get a good taste of it all.
And Jeff, people have already says I'm a bit much, so it's cool.
All right, so Alex is lost now, so I'll go
He's
next.
gone.
Gone, right?
And that
So
auto wasn't working too well.
no, zooming in a car, just, I don't know, it's not the greatest idea. I've never had any luck with it, and I've tried to do it. So it's an interesting story, my first album tonight. I had no idea or intention of listening to it. What does that mean, you might ask? Well, if you follow Unknown Sundays, you'll know that this past weekend I posted a story about Canada Day and the 4th of July that I wanted to have my own unknown party where I would invite 2 US bands and 2 Canadian bands. Now I start that off with Dorothy out of California as a heavy rock band, female lead vocal, just to get the crowd whipped up into a frenzy. Then I wanted to bring out July Talk out of Canada, which at that point, remember that I wrote this back in 2016. So they come out, they do their thing. Then after that is a band called Sugartooth, which I really enjoyed back in the 94, 96 range, very much an alternative rock and fit the era very well. And then finishing up with Boot Sauce. And I've already talked plenty about Boot Sauce, so I'll stay off of that. But Sugartooth. So I'm doing the links for the article. And I go, well, I'll go to a website. They don't have a website. Yes, they do. And they released an album and I had no idea they had. I want to thank the band because they did reach out after seeing the article, as well as on Twitter and Facebook. They're pretty cool guys. They actually said, hey, let's not make the next album be this long. And he goes, we're working on one right now as we speak. Should be out in 44 years. I probably should have replied they could play at my funeral. Again, this is a hard rock alternative record. They do have that sound that they had when their 2 records back in 94 and 96. The second record was Sounds of Solid. 1994's debut had that popular song Sold My Fortune. This is heavier, I believe. It's the heaviest record I can remember. The guitars are much, much harder and heavier. But the sound is there. There are some, that technique of recording of that era is still in there. And I don't know if it works as well, but I enjoyed the record because I'm caught up in that nostalgic moment. So if you're a 90s person, you're, 92, 94, 96, 90, you're going to love it because it's the band and they're doing it. It's called Volume 3. And we'll go back to Chef Jeff.
How's his voice?
Okay.
Oh, how's the voice? The
Yeah.
voice is holding up. Yeah, I just think the production quality is not as good as the last record. But that was 25 years ago. So
They must have done it over Zoom.
Go ahead, Chef Jeff.
Okie dokie. Well, this next album is a live concert, 2-album set that this boy right here was able to see live on my 18th year of my life. This was done on August 24th, 1972. And it was done live from the Greek Theater. None other than Neil Diamond and the album Hot August Nights.
Nice.
It is one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to, bar none. It was so intense. He actually did 10 concerts in 4 months, all at the Greek. And this one I saw 5 out of the 10. I've always been a Neil
Diamond.
Neil Diamond.
That happened. I've done it too.
Yeah,
Done it too.
a Neil Diamond fan because my dad was so much into Neil Diamond. So I heard it a lot when I was growing up in my early teens and stuff. So when I grew up in it, and Neil lived in Malibu Canyon for a long time, so he did a lot of local shows, but usually at pretty big venues. But it's not really to talk about the song so much because I don't think Neil wrote anything after he was 30. I really don't. All of them are old. All of them are Neil Diamond staples and stuff like that. But this live concert was just electrifying. Whether you were drunk, stoned, or plain sober, it was just a really, really good concert. And I listen to Neil Diamond probably twice to 3 times a month, probably as much as I do any other artist. The songs are soothing to me. They're homey. They're comfort.
They're a slice of Americana, that's for sure.
Yeah, comfort music, baby. So, but I believe he has a lot of flaws as an entertainer, and he is not the best at this, the best at that. He's not the best singer. He doesn't play an instrument that I know of, and but his songwriting is incredible. And I will probably like him until my last day on earth.
Emotional
But
delivery. Guys.
this is one of my favorite albums by far, mainly because I was there.
And he was also good in Saving Silverman.
Yeah, there's a funny movie. God. Hey, so Alex, can you go back to your first pick?
Yeah, do you
Oh,
No,
dude.
no. I think that was an A minor.
Why is Alex speaking in R2D2?
Yeah, there you go.
What if you took the video off, Alex?
get me if you don't.
Okay, let's hear now.
Well, let's try it.
Yep, good.
Any
Go.
better?
Yep.
Any better?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
all right. Well, we'll
No,
take
you're
it.
not Eddie. No,
Sound
you're
terrible.
not Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, so first one I had, here we go.
No, you're good. Keep going.
I got nothing.
What do you mean you got nothing? We can hear you.
Yeah, well, it's a one-sided conversation.
Mm. All right. Jeff Young, go ahead.
So I'm going an album I've been listening to lately. Kind of the same thing. I was listening to it thinking, hey, maybe I'll give it to Mark, but I decided against it, as far as a album challenge. And it's a band that is named after a car. It is Pantera, and their 5th album at 92, Vulgar Display of Power. It's a double platinum album, and it's often considered, the way it read, was one of the most influential heavy metal albums of the 90s. It was ranked 10th on Rolling Stone's 100 greatest metal albums of all time. So, they got a lot of songs that are pretty popular, well known, like Mouth for War, New Level, Walk, Effing Hostile, This Love. The title of the album actually was taken from The Exorcist. So there's a part in the movie where the priest says to the girl in the bed, if you're the devil, why not make the straps disappear? And the girl says, that's much too vulgar a display of power. And they wound up on this album touring with Skid Row, Soundgarden, Megadeth, and White Zombie all on their tours.
Wow.
The singer Daryl Abbott was the son of a country music producer. He started playing guitar at 12, and when Pantera released their first album, he was only 16.
Jeez. I
Um,
wouldn't have thought that.
most-
They always seemed like they looked older to me.
yeah, most people who know some about music, maybe even don't even listen to Pantera, know that Daryl, referred to as Dimebag Daryl, he was murdered at a show in Columbus, Ohio. The first song, Deranged Fan in 2004, hopped up on stage and shot him multiple times and actually killed one of the security guards that tried to help too. But he'd already made a name for himself at that point. And, Gene Simmons actually donated a Kiss casket for the burial. because he knew that he was a big fan of Kiss. And Eddie Van Halen donated his black and yellow striped 1979 Charvel Bumblebee guitar, which was featured on the back cover of Van Halen 2. That was included in the casket a few weeks prior to his death. He had met Eddie Van Halen and asked him for a replica of that guitar. And Eddie at the funeral said, that he was an original and only deserves the original. So that's why he gave him the original guitar.
Wow. I can't.
But that album is just so, it really is like, you think about all the other bands that come after, like Slipknot or anybody like heavy like that still can actually have voices and sing not when Vulgar Display of Power came out, there was nothing as heavy as those guitars, nothing as dark, brutal, even the cover is, of the album art, it was just but the messages in the songs weren't all as brutal. Like they kind of turned things around too with the messages in songs, but it is just a perfect album name, cover, and it matches the music.
It's true. I think there was a thing that went around on Twitter, and it said, band album covers that match the band and the music immediately. That cover was on there for sure.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Okay, it's a good pick. I get to go back and go back at that album. I get them confused. I don't remember which songs are on which. They were not on my radar for a long time, but ever since everyone started going back and saying that they were kind of responsible for a genre, a shoot off genre.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I think I do. But I have to double check actually. Like I said, I'm picturing the cover.
Post it.
Yeah. So my next one is a gentleman called, his name is Duke Garwood, Garwood. His record from 2022 called Rogues Gospel. This is music to heal the soul, but it's a very deliberate, slow build that has a feel of Mark Lanigan from the Screaming Trees. So I call it a Lanigishian mood, if you will. And it has a sway of Morphine, if you remember Morphine from the early 90s. In the background with basically a saxophone type of feel that should really, again, bring our 90s alt lovers out of the closet or hiding or wherever they've been, depending on how you feel about music today. A lot of soulful rhythm and dark space here. When I talk about commenting, I find this a lot on Twitter. This is how I found the band, or this guy. There's a gentleman, Viva La Swain. I believe he's in Viva L Swain, sorry. He's in London, I would assume. He posted a picture of the placard, the marquee, and just said, yep. And I'm like, tell me he's going. So if he's going to a show, it's going to be somebody worth going to see. And I didn't recognize the name at all, nor the person. And that's how you find music sometimes. And that's what I did in this case. And I encourage anyone who's watching us and wants to be exposed to music to do that from our show or from anybody else's, or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But yeah, this has definitely had the shutdown vibe of COVID on it. I'm pretty sure it had to be done in the 20s and then released in 22. So that's Duke Garwood, Rogues Gospel. Back to you, Chef Jeff, for your third pick.
Okay. My third pick, I have been now listening to for about 3 weeks because I can't get enough of it, because I can't believe that I did not know about this band, especially because of the style they play. It is 100% in my wheelhouse. I am talking about Goose. I learned about them by accident. I was on a United air flight from San Francisco to Honolulu, and there were no movies to be watched. So United now has these concerts you can watch live. So out of a 4-hour and 40-minute flight, 4 hours and 30 minutes was listening to this one band do a live concert June 9th of this year. I was freaking blown away. Still am. They are, for lack of a better term, and this could sound dicey, but it's almost like the new Dead. They have a lot of similarities to both Dead and Fish. I am still just blown away by them. I have listened to this album a few times because at 6 hours and change, it's a real hard one stop listening. You just couldn't do it. But I listened to it 20, 30 an hour at a time. I've gotten through the album twice now because I'm still trying to get my head around everything right now. I'm enjoying the frick out of it. This is the best part about being a panelist on Beyond the Radio is the chance to listen to new music and be blown away. The band has not been around that long. I think maybe 7 or 8 years, maybe 9. But they're very, very, very tight. And I think they have a major future with them. They're astonishing in some directions.
Well, if you're already playing Radio City Music Hall, there's a reason, right?
And packing it 2 nights in a row.
Yeah, when we were talking about that, and there's more on Goose to come as a teaser to everybody. When you said the album was that long, I wanted to break it down because I know that I can't remember. I want to say it was the Dead that played the longest show ever recorded for one band, but I could be mistaken at this point. But
you are mistaken. You know who did?
Who?
And they just did it just to get a Guinness at the time, and that was Tubes.
Oh, the Tubes. Okay, well that makes sense.
They did a 7-hour show, and they kept members would leave off the stage and come back and leave off stage. I have a friend of mine who was at the show, but the Dead had done a lot of 3-hour plus shows.
Yeah, 3 to 4. I mean, they were in the
4
4-hour something range. That
Oh
week.
yeah, well, they closed in a Wonderland. They did.
What's interesting about this record, though, Ed, just because you and I have been talking about it, is that there are no repeat songs in a 6-hour two night venue. So that's
35 total songs.
6 hours.
Average song almost 17 minutes. So
cool.
There's definitely some but their space, unlike the Fish and unlike the Dead, is more logical. You can you know where you're leaving and you know where you're coming back. It's not space. It's more of an extended jam than it is space.
Okay. Jeff Young, where are you taking us on your final pick?
The last one is kind of something I stumbled on YouTube, but it's from 1984.
84.
The producer is Quincy Jones.
Okay, wait a minute. 84. Quincy Jones.
The idea originally came from Harry Belafonte. I'm talking about USA for Africa with We Are the World, like the album, The Benefit Africa.
That was the only thing I could come up with, but I know he's produced other people. But yeah.
So here, just to give you an idea, like so the soloists in the songs: Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, James Ingram, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, Willie Nelson, Al Jarreau, Bruce Springsteen, Kenny Loggins, Steve Perry, Daryl Hall, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Bob Dylan, Kim Carnes, and Ray Charles. I mean, how are you ever going to get that many stars in one room again? Seriously, they filmed it because they were all in town in LA for the American Music Awards, and it was opportunistic to do that. But even like the chorus included people like Sheila E. Was it Janet Jackson, Randy and Marlon Wayne?
Wait a minute, Michael and Janet were in the same room together?
Yeah. So
okay, so it's a real thing.
Midler, John Oates, the Pointer Sisters, Smokey Robinson, and one person that was actually in the chorus, and the only really, I guess, non-traditional singing artist was Dan Aykroyd. So Dan Aykroyd explained that this happened on accident. He was in the same building where they were recording this, and he was actually looking for somebody to run his finances, and he went to the wrong address. And they said, "Oh, well, while you're here, do you want to go next door and sing?" Because hey, you've got experience as one of the Blues Brothers. People know you as a singer anyway. So he did that, and that it's just so crazy, like how he did that. Some of the notable absences, like Madonna, was not invited, but at that time, Like a Virgin had really not hit, and so I think that the story kind of goes that she had a lot of commitments, and also she wasn't really well known and things like that. So like a combination of many things. What's unique is like after Like a Virgin came out, it actually knocked We Are the World out of the #1 spot on Billboard. So John Denver was big time, and he asked to be part of this, and the producer, one of the producers said no, because they thought it was going to take away from the pop aspect that they wanted. Like, it sounds so stupid to say that, but trying to think, well, who else wasn't in it but did a song on the album was Prince. And one story says that he claimed to be too shy to be in front of everybody else, but the other story that I read said that during the American Music Awards there was an issue with some of his bodyguards getting in trouble with patrons, and he had to go bail them out of jail or something. Nobody really knows exactly what happened, but while Prince wasn't one of the featured performers on We Are the World song, he did lend a song to the track. And then trying to think who else. Like, a lot of people think, well, in the 80s, why was Whitney Houston not there? Well, she still hadn't even had her first
broke yet. Right, exactly.
It was like a year or two later. She had she was still a backup singer at that time. But yeah, so just kind of really weird. I just was really struck by the whole Dan Aykroyd thing. And it's just funny, even when you watch the We Are the World video now, it's like, you forget how many stars were there, like in the same place.
Yeah. And then they did another piece, right? They did it again.
I mean, it was a full album. I think there was like 8 songs on the album. Yeah. And
to do that,
because it was American Music Awards, it was more pop related. Mm-hmm. Obviously there was Willie Nelson was there and stuff like that, but you weren't going to get your Steven Tylers, you weren't going to get, I don't even know if Tom Petty was there, but it was all about like more pop. Kenny Rogers was there, so they did have some other country music. So I mean, you just weren't at that time in the 80s. You weren't getting a lot of hard rock or metal.
Well, the glam metal had started, right? Is that pretty much like the new?
Yeah, but I don't even
new wave of heavy metal is 1970 something, isn't it? 70. Yeah,
just an unbelievable collection of artists.
Cool. Alex, now that you're home,
and not,
let's see if you can you rattle off 3 in a row.
Well, I can definitely score a hat trick on this one. So
excellent. Go ahead.
So first one, I have someone who hasn't come out yet, but I started digging into some of his music in anticipation of his new album, 23 Days in LA, coming out next Friday. Logan Crosby. He's the nephew of Jason Aldean. I'm already starting to enjoy a lot of his stuff. So really highly eager to listen to the anticipated debut for him. And from my experience with country music, honestly, before they get commercially big, this is the time to listen to somebody. It's a little bit more authentic. It's a little bit less. It's a little bit less controlled. Yeah. A lot of my favorite music by popular country artists were from their debut albums, or even their earlier first couple albums.
That's a good statement.
What's that?
That's a good statement. I would probably agree with that for most people.
And I just thought of it because I was when I was down at the NHL draft recently in Nashville, seeing Kip Moore live, and a lot of his best music that I liked was from his earlier stuff. Same thing with Thomas Rhett, and I know he just played in Buffalo tonight. So, that sentiment kind of goes with them.
Okay, we'll be looking for that. What you got next?
Second one, I've got Aaron Jones's Chronicles of the Kid. We've talked about this on the show on, I believe it was one of your Saturday album reviews.
Yep.
But I had to listen to it. He was somebody I liked his first album to begin with. And you know that I was really high on that. This one knocked it out of the park. I thought the flow to this album was phenomenal. I thought the way he was stylistically changing into the slower songs, or maybe making a little bit of an instrument change or two from track to track was spot on. Going seamlessly flowed the blues and the hard rock. I can definitely go by the hard rock stations like this already. Like I listen to Octane on Sirius XM, and they pick him up, which his blues sound is not usually with a lot of other artists on there.
Correct.
So for him, awesome album. It stood exactly what I was hoping for out of it. I almost still like his first one better.
It's not even close. I can't even, not close for me. This is him being the Gary Clark Jr., Lenny Kravitz with Nickelback wound in. This is an astoundingly well-made record. The last record had pieces that I went, I've heard that before. Or not that I've heard that before, but it just didn't wow me. It was okay.
Yeah.
This album is on fire from the beginning to middle, and I think it's relentless almost.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, and I'm nitpicking when I say that I like the other one better, I think, in that sense, because I think that was just the first taste of hearing him, which I got so accustomed to listening to over and over. And so hearing it a second time, I mean, his musicianship on this album is awesome.
It's a best of 23. If he doesn't make the list, something's radically, I mean, some albums drop there are just magnificent because it'll be hard to push out.
Yeah, that one was good. And then third album. So I was a fan of a couple tracks on the album Greater Than by Shapes. So I finally said, all right, I got to give this album a full try. Let's see if I like the whole thing. Came out the gates hot with the first track. I knew the second and third. Fourth track, I'm like, okay, the first half of this was good. Where the hell did they go on the second half of this track? And then like 5 through till the end, I just went,
So what kind of music? Give people because first of all, it Shapes is SHVPES, I believe.
Yeah. I'm gonna say hard rock, but there's such an electric sound to this that it's definitely got its hands produced a lot more than I think it needed to be. I thought that's what makes some of their tracks good, is because they get creative with the electric sound. But like I was getting at with the latter half of the album, I just kind of went like, not that they were necessarily bad tracks. The flow was completely off. I felt like I was listening to 8 tracks that were just put out on one album, not designed to be put in a certain order. I thought it just kind of scatterbrained me a little bit, and maybe that's the point. But I don't know if I would listen to it as a full album. I think I like it in its single track format for me. So I mean, yeah, this one kind of for me, in my ear, grades a little bit mid-range, but I finally gave it a shot, and now to chip away at this list of a bunch of other albums and things that I wrote down today that I wanted to put in my ear. So
Great.
That one I can cross off.
That's what hoping our listeners, viewers are doing. Okay, so I'll end the show with a throwback, but not a throwback in time, a throwback in the idea of time. So my artist is Delvin Lamar. God, so bad at saying his name. Delvin is an organist, right? The Booker T kind of guy. There's another one with the Metrics, maybe. Is that the other band, Jeff? Do you know the Metrics? The Meters. Chef Jeff. Meters. The Meters.
Sounds
Man, you're really
familiar,
off
but it's not ringing any bells.
No, I think they're like 1950s, 60s, 70s, kind of this kind of soul jazz funk, but this is through the organ. So this is Delvin Lamar, and it's Lamarr trio, and it's organ trio. This band's music is rhythm based and rooted into those 50s, 60s, and 70s. You can tell because this is the album Close But No Cigar. God, what was the year on it? 2016 maybe. You can tell by the track titles, like Little Booker T. He's got a song called Al Greenery. And there's a song called Between the Mayo and the Mustard. I mean, this is quintessential organ. This is kind of like pre-Doors, you know, that just when the organ was a lot of fun, but it zips, and it really, if you're a Booker T and the MGs person, this is the guy for you. He is kind of taking the organ by storm like that right by now. He's been doing it for the last 6-7 years. He's one to watch. I think last year he was on my 22 of 22. I love going to his records. And today, after listening to Chef Jeff's pick to get Frank Zappa, I didn't hit my next album right away, and Delvin Lamar was next up. And I'm like, no, got to go back to Close But No Cigar. So I want to thank the panelists tonight for doing this improv kind of thing where I'm in Delaware. Alex tried to do it from his car, which we'll never try again, because now I'm going to have to edit the living shit out of this one. But I love the picks tonight. They were all excellent, all over the place, giving people a little bit of something. I am now going to start to go back through Frank Zappa's catalog, just to let you know, some of these, when you do this, you better be careful, because some of these guys, they do one thing and it's wow, and then they do something else and it's completely different, and you're like, oh, I'm never listening to anything they do again. Well, they probably have other records that are in that wheelhouse too. So
you have recommended arena music to me before, and I will also say this on the Aaron Jones album. The title, I believe, was the name of the track.
yeah,
that one is definitely arena music perfectly.
yeah, absolutely.
Some sort of
yeah,
sport.
it was like
I've always critiqued what you've said goes that route. That one fits for sure.
Yeah.
What do you mean arena music?
Like something a team will come out to, or some sort of pump up video music or something like that.
It can be. It's.
I thought it was like a panel or something.
Oh no. So we're obviously on the web at beyondyourradio.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I do these posts for Facebook. Album for today, ALUB. Oh my God, ALBUM, the number 4 in today. The reason I tell people that is because this is where I post some of these albums. So for you to listen to and catch on to, maybe even before the show. So if you're looking out for that, you'll see them on there. More news shows are coming, and plenty of articles on our website, Music Bites, album review Saturdays and Unknown Sundays. Tomorrow I'll be doing album review Saturday from the road here again in Delaware. So thank you again, panelists, and I'll see you next week, and happy listening.